Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us. Hello, and again, thank you for being with Emerald Planet and Jobenomics America TV. We're coming to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking across 8,700 opportunity zones, looking for the best practices that can be used there as we create new green businesses and new green jobs. And I have a gentleman who is the captain and the chief of all this. This is Charles D. He goes by Chuck Vollmer, founder, president, author of Jobenomics. And welcome to Jobenomics America TV.
Well, thank you, Sam.
Glad to have you here. And welcome to the Emerald Planet as well, because that's where we're talking about right now. But anyway, looking at all of this, tell us a little bit about the vision and the mission as far as Jobenomics.
Yeah, Jobenomics is a national grassroots movement. It's about 10 years old now. We've reached about 30 million people, and we focus on economic, community, small business, and workforce development in underserved communities.
Yeah, and really that's very important, and looking at the various aspects of that. You have many publications, and so tell us a little bit about those and also some of the genesis of these publications.
Yeah, I started at about 2009. I have a security background, and so I was on one of the presidential campaign teams, and they brought me as a senior security advisor. So I started talking to them about economic security, and I said, what's that? You know, we're talking about national security, homeland security. I said, well, I know about that too, but if you don't have economic security, then you can't afford the rest. And so that didn't go real big with them. So I went to Wall Street, and they asked me to write a book about this. Mm-hmm. And so it started off, it came out Jobenomics, and then I went back to Congress, and I had a lobbyist friend of mine that took me about 30 times. I got nowhere. I got nowhere with the left or the right because didn't really have an interest in a small business approach to workforce development. And I guess they had their own plans, and you know they're more oriented to big business with PACs. Correct. And stuff like that, which small business does. So I started working with the governors and then the mayors, and then about 2016, the local community leaders started coming to me and said, hey, look, we went to your website, jobenomics.com, and into your library, and you've got 11 books that you've written, and you got about 100 special reports, and it's drinking out of a fire hose. And so can you tailor this to our community? And so that started down the road of tailoring specific programs for whether it's a neighborhood, or whether it's a small city, whether it's the metropolitan area, or even a county. Well,
let's go look at some of these Jobenomics chapters. Tell us a little bit about those. Some of these are real legacy cities, others are quite rural areas. Even now you're talking with Native Americans for one of the sovereign nations. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, well, it started off in New York City. The guy who was running for mayor, and he said, look, I want to run on Jobenomics. So we did a New York City, and then we did a Harlem, and then we did Baltimore, we did Chicago, Atlanta, and so as the map shows, we've got about 25 or 30 of these things out there. And they're all different stages of development. When you go into impoverished areas in the inner city, the rural area, part of the reason that they're impoverished is they really don't understand the language of business. And it kind of goes hand in hand. Jobs don't create jobs, businesses do. So we go in, and the community leaders, we put together a coalition, and I say, look, I need probably about 30 or 40 community leaders to put this together, and we have access to financing through the opportunity zones. And so, so it's in different stages of maturations. We still haven't really got a marquee program, but it takes about 5 years to get these things going.
Yeah, it's just like any small business. It's whether it's an insurance, real estate, accounting, whatever it is. It's about 5 years to really get it established and people understand that you're out there and what you're trying to do. So looking at these major areas, you have these focuses that you're really looking at, you think can fit into these different communities. You can mix and match these, which is really very important for those local communities. So tell us a little bit about some of these.
You mean the programs?
Right.
Yeah, when we put together this economic community workforce development approach, and it's a different approach. And when you go in the inner cities, they kind of look at skeptical, but when you're in a impoverished area, they don't believe, that the current system's working for them. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat, and so, or whatever, we're a nonpartisan movement. So they're getting really interested about saying, how do we mass produce micro businesses in use that are locally owned? And so they buy it. They say, well, what programs are you talking about? And so we've come up with about a dozen programs. And I think you have a slide on it that says, we'll talk about just briefly about each of those. The one we have highlighted in red is, we're going to talk a little bit, is controlled environment agriculture. That's indoor agriculture. Indoor agriculture, it can be hydroponics, it could be a different, it could be more traditional, soil-based types of things. But indoor agriculture produces 9 times the volume than outdoor does, and it uses only 1% of the water. And so in stressed areas, water-stressed areas, we do that. So we can break it down into a quarter-acre lot in a micro greenhouse, or we can make a 100,000 square foot facility.
So it's expandable, and you just mix and match as far as what you need in there.
And as we've talked about before at Emerald Planet is, for example, if I take a condominium complex, I could put it on the roof. Or if I take a retirement community for the older people that don't have a lot to do, I could put a large greenhouse micro farm outside. And what we grow indoors is organic. That means herbicide, pesticide, and non-GMO. And consequently, it really is in high demand now.
And I understand you're using organic root stimulants, so you're not using chemical fertilizers either.
Yeah, that goes to the enhanced water program, and we're going to talk, in the whole show about the thing called SuperWater High-Ox. It is, and it was rated by Dr. Linares, is going to talk to you in the next couple of 3 segments about exactly how he came.
Talk about urban mining and some of these others.
Sure. Let me just before on that, the SuperWater is great to use that because organic usually produces about half as much volume. You add the SuperWater, it makes the same amount of volume as the non-organic, and it does it cheaper. So this whole farm-to-table craze is really a big deal.
Particularly in urban areas.
Yeah, and now we move on to urban mining. Urban mining says, a lot of the mayors and the community leaders said, we don't have any money. It's all spoken for. I said, well, how about if I create $50 million for you? And they said, well, how do you do that? I said, what you call trash, we call commodities. So we have a MSW, which is the typical garbage,
waste.
And to energy, we have a plastics to waste, and we have an e-cycling and electronics to waste program. The ones that are most interested is plastics to waste. We're associated with several companies that have turnkey systems that are operational. That you can take everything from soda straws to the PET bottles. This is a PET bottle, or acrylics, PVC pipes, and the rest. You throw it into in the pyrolysis chamber, and it comes out as sulfur-free diesel fuel. So, like in California or in New York, the more liberal states that are banning soda straws and throwaway plastic bags, one-use plastic bags. We say that's all well and good, but if we just collect it and we give it to you, we can turn that into a values program. So it's plastic to values. Same thing with end-of-life electronics. You could throw a refrigerator on a conveyor belt, and it goes through a shredder, and it sorts, and then you end up with copper, aluminum, iron, and plastic, so you can sell or you can build businesses out of. The other programs that we have, digital economy is a big one. The digital economy is growing about 5 times faster, actually more than that, at 15% a year, where our traditional GDP is 2%.
And that goes across all age ranges too. People keep saying it's only for the screenagers and the young people.
Yeah.
Actually, people 60 and older are actually adopting this
Yeah.
and have life skills. They have real work experience, and so they can take, they can leverage all of that as far as this digital economy.
Yeah, digital economy, it's got e-commerce, it's got m-commerce, telehealth, the apps economy, the bots economy.
And they can do it from their own space.
Yeah, they can do
that.
that.
Go anywhere.
And for example, in Anacostia, which is the poorest section of Washington and is highly African American, we have a certification program, even in the cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is really high tech.
Right.
For a kid that's just graduating from high school, we can get him certified within about 4 or 5 months, and he can get an entry-level salary for $60,000 in cybersecurity. Because of the amount of jobs that are open, about a third of them are for entry level in maintenance, support, and human relations. But they have to be certified that they understand the language of that. We have entrepreneur clubs, and we have energy services, and we got experimental tourism. Those are some of the things that we can put in these communities to mass produce microbusiness.
Opportunity zones. What are they? Why are they important?
Okay, opportunity zones, 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act had provision put by 2 African American senators, Tim Scott, South Carolina, and Cory Booker of New Jersey, said, hey, look, we need to do something for the poor people, and they say the underserved and under-resourced. So they said to the governors, pick the lowest 25% of the poor census tracts. And then the Treasury Department certified the half of that, so 12.5%, the bottom 10%. And there's 8,700 of these census tracts. Now, since I'm already working, my chapters are already in these under-resourced, where almost all of them are in that. And in the Opportunity Zone is different than the other government programs like Empowerment Zone, Hub Zones, and the like, because it's a private sector.
Yeah, and that's really, really critical. Looking at some of this ways of this, what you call the opportunity zones or the O areas, where you can actually bring in this shopping mall concept. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Opportunity Zones funds that they have, there's 200, and they've got a total of $45 billion with a B.
With a B.
With a B. And so now the poor people in the inner city say, hey, when they go and say, oh, I got this money that's coming in to build businesses, and they say, how much do you want? Well, I want 50,000, 100,000. Well, in an Opportunity Zone with all that money, and they're like hedge funds or REITs or venture funds, they're looking for $20 to $50 million projects. So what we do is we take these anchor tenant programs that we call, like the urban mining, the urban agriculture, or the SuperWater HIOX, and we say those are like your J.C. Penney and your Sears in a mall. Now, in a mall, this is a physical mall, we're doing more of a virtual distributed. They do about a quarter of the jobs, but in a mall, most of the jobs are the micro businesses that are between these 2 anchor tenants in a mall. These are the clothing shops and the restaurants and the entertainment and the
like the movies, and skating, and all these.
All
things.
This stuff. It's all those little micro businesses are what actually produce the most jobs. So, if we're looking for a $20 million project, I have 2 anchor tenants, or say $50 million. $20 million for the urban mining, for say the plastic to waste program. And say 20 million for the indoor, 100,000 foot indoor agriculture. There's 40, and I can add probably another 10 million because I'm making the return on investment on these. And at the end of the day, I can fund all those micro businesses. The guy that wants 50,000 or 100,000, I can kind of bundle it all when they're, because the Opportunity Zone funds have to have social impact.
And the whole thing about this too is you're drawing people from the local community that you're identifying that really need this.
Right.
And this goes back really to the training program that you have. Let's go back to these, where actually you're bringing people in, allowing them to be trained, skilled, and then they can go out into their own business.
Yeah.
So this way you're matching the skills that you're identifying within the community, or those that want to have these skills, with the money that's coming through the enterprise zones.
Yeah, and the Opportunity Zones.
Yeah,
the
Opportunity Zones.
Yeah, so anyway, you go into the community and you say, this is the concept, here's the intellectual capital, here are the turnkey programs that I've got. And they say, well, wait a minute, I got a program. I said, well, great, we'll add it to the list. Okay, and so we mix and match. We figure Okay, if they don't want a plastics to waste, they want more of a clean tech type of thing. We do more of the energy and the agriculture. But then we add their programs in there, and it really, now all of a sudden when I have a stakeholders meeting, this first stakeholder meeting gets about 25, and in Erie, Pennsylvania, I was getting almost 1,000 people coming to these things.
That's amazing, absolutely amazing.
And,
it shows the interest.
Yeah, it shows the interest. So now what we need to do is actually get these programs funded and up and running. And for the agriculture thing, we already have 3 opportunity zone funds that say they'll put $150 million into our programs.
That's incredible. Going to the chapters across this area as far as the stressed areas, as far as the water is concerned?
Yeah, again, the indoor agriculture and the SuperWater high-ox is important from the fact is if I can grow at one, cheaper, better quality, same amount of growth, and use 1/10 or 1% of the water, all these stressed areas, and that's what the map was, a water-stressed area, especially in the West. Now we're talking, we have one project in California that we've already architected out. It is going to be 2.6 million square feet under roof.
That is absolutely incredible.
On a 1,000-acre facility. So we do indoor and outdoor and build a community around it.
Looking at food deserts, what's the food, we got to be quick because we're down to the last minute.
This goes with this, is that the country has got malnutrition problems, and the food desert means you're 1 mile away from a grocery store where you can buy good food in an urban area and 10 miles in a rural. And so the reason that people are malnutrition is not that they're starving, they generally are obese because they're eating Twinkies and pizzas from the local convenience, big
empty calories.
Empty calories. So we're providing, and this is what Dr. Ray is going to talk to you about, is water is life and nutrition is life, and that we're moving from an environment, we've gone from bottled water, which everybody thought was crazy 20 years ago, to clean water. Now we're talking about super oxygenated water, which is really healthy water that you can use for people and plants and even toxic waste dumps too.
We're going to have that new adage, water plus oxygen is life. We're down to the last 15 seconds. So thank you. This is Chuck Vollmer, founder, president, author of Jobenomics. Thank you for being with us as we come to you on a week-to-week basis and monthly basis for Jobenomics America TV as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.